to read a bit of the Odyssey from book 4, not about Odysseus, but about Telemachus. Telemachus is a lad at home, being bullied by his mother's suitors, and missing his father who's been absent for 20 years, and what's happened to him in the last 10, they don't know, he's simply gone missing. So he goes to see Nestor, who was Odysseus' friend, and picks up from there Nestor's son, and they go to see Menelaus, the king of Sparta. When they get there, there's enormous celebrations because there's a double wedding in the palace at Sparta. And Ithaca is a poor place, and Telemachus is overwhelmed by the sheer splendour of Menelaus' palace. "My dear friend," he says to Nestor's son, "can you believe your eyes? The murmuring hall, how luminous it is, with bronze, gold, amber, silver and ivory. This is the way the court of Zeus must be, inside, upon Olympus. What a wonder!" But splendid Menelaus had overheard him, and spoke out on the instant to them both. "Young friends, no mortal man can vie with Zeus. His home and all his treasures are forever. But as for men, it may well be that few have more than I. How painfully I wandered before I brought it home. 7 years at sea, Cyprus, Cyprus, Phoenicia, Egypt, and still further among the sunburnt races. I saw the men of Sidon and Arabia and Libya too, where lambs are horned at birth. In every year they have 3 lambing seasons, so no man, chief or shepherd, ever goes hungry for want of mutton, cheese, or milk. All year at milking time there are fresh ewes. But while I made my fortune in those travels, a stranger killed my brother in cold blood, tricked blind, caught in the web of his deadly queen. What pleasure can I take then, being lord over these costly things? You must have heard your fathers tell my story, whoever your fathers are. You must know of my life, the anguish I once had, and the great house full of my treasure left in desolation. How gladly I should live 1/3 as rich to have my friends back safe at home, my friends who died on Troy's wide seaboard, far from the grazing lands of Argos. But as things are, nothing but grief is left me for those companions. While I sit at home, sometimes hot tears come, and I revel in them, or stop before the surfeit makes me shiver. And there is one I miss more than the other dead I mourn for. Sleep and food alike grow hateful when I think of him. No soldier took on so much, went through so much as Odysseus. That seems to have been his destiny. And this mine, to feel each day the emptiness of his absence, ignorant even whether he lived or died, how his old father and his quiet wife Penelope must miss him still, and Telemachus, whom he left as a newborn child. Now, hearing these things said, the boy's heart rose in a long pang for his father, and he wept, holding his purple mantle with both hands before his eyes. Menelaus knew him now, and so fell silent with uncertainty, whether to let him speak and name his father in his own time, or to inquire and prompt him. And while he pondered, Helen came out of her scented chamber, a moving grace like Artemis, straight as a shaft of gold. Isn't that wonderful? Because it all seems so alien to us, and yet so familiar. This youngster who's been bullied by the suitors in his father's bereft house, and is like a child younger than his 20 years should make him, and so he burbles on about how wonderful it all is. Menelaus involuntarily speaks about Odysseus, and then when he sees Telemachus weeping behind his veiled eyes, knows who that lad is, and yet has the tact to wonder whether he ought to confront him with the knowledge that he has who he is, or to let him speak it in his own time. It's simultaneously extraordinarily alien, and the translation preserves that alienness, and familiar and recognizable today in terms of feelings that we still have. Sorry, that was rather a long